Welcome back to Under the Knife. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about the phrenology head. Phrenology was a popular pseudoscience that emerged in the late 18th and early 19th centuries. Believers claimed to be able to read individual personalities, their strengths, their weaknesses, their hopes, their desires, by examining the bumps on their skulls. To understand phrenology, we must look at a crucial debate from the period regarding the organization of the brain. One school of thought believed that the brain was relatively homogeneous, and that it worked together as a whole to produce all mental and motor functions. In other words, no particular function, such as humor or aggression, could be localized to any one area of the brain. In contrast, the other school of thought believed that the brain was compartmentalized and that every function could be pinpointed to a specific area of the brain. In order to unlock the secrets of the brain, all one had to do was figure out which piece corresponded with which function. The practice of phrenology was developed by the Austrian physician Franz Joseph Gall in 1796. Gall noticed that the cerebral cortex of humans was much larger than that of animals, and believed that as the brain developed, it had the ability to shape the skull. This could manifest itself in many ways. For instance, an underdeveloped faculty might result in a depression of the skull, while an overdeveloped faculty would result in a bump or protuberance. So, how did Gall come to his conclusions? Well, like all good stories, it began with a band of merry thieves. After examining the heads of a number of young pickpockets, Gall found that many of them had bumps in their skull just above their ears. He then suggested that the bumps, indentations, and overall shape of the skull could be linked to different aspects of a person's personality, character, and abilities. With his young pickpockets, for example, he suggested that the bump behind their ears was associated with a tendency to steal, lie, or deceive. Gall's work led to one of the first biological explanations of criminal behavior. Gall became obsessed with proving his theory that specific bumps on the head correlated with specific personality traits. He traveled all over the country measuring heads from people who were in prisons, asylums, and hospitals. And as a result, he came up with 27 faculties which he believed correlated with specific areas of the skull. Despite his lack of scientific rigor, Gall's theories quickly gained followers, some of whom developed their own system for reading skulls. By the middle of the 19th century, people were flocking to phrenology parlors to get their heads examined. The psychograph was invented, which was an automated machine composed of numerous spring-loaded probes. The device was placed over the head while the probes would extend to gently touch the scalp, thereby providing a measurement of the topography of the skull. The machine would then calculate the characteristics of the subject based on this topography and produce an automated reading. As funny as it might seem to us today, phrenology wasn't just a misguided scientific endeavor from a bygone era. Rather, it perpetuated prejudices and long-standing biases. People could be easily categorized, labeled, and judged, not on merit or deed, but by their mere physical appearance. As a result, phrenology caught the interest of certain individuals with strong ideological convictions who wished to use the pseudoscience as justification for social, racial, religious, or political change. Despite phrenology's brief popularity, it eventually became seen as a pseudoscience, much like astrology, palmistry, or numerology. Even the Catholic Church took offense, placing Gall's book on the Index of Prohibited Books in 1802. That said, Gall and the phrenologists were right about one thing. The brain is compartmentalized, with each piece serving a specific function. The modern map of the brain, however, does not correlate to the classic map used by phrenologists. Theirs was more personality-based, while the modern map is based on fundamental functions, such as the ability to perform mathematical equations or interpret language. And of course, the bumps in your head mean nothing at all.
Says you.
Well, hold on, I have a PhD in the history of medicine.
You don't have letters all over your head though, do you? Oh.
Yeah, but I do have letters after my name.